and then they're basically roasted. Very much like when you roast coffee, the point of roasting is to bring out the natural flavour of the cocoa. The actual cocoa bean itself has about 400 flavour compounds naturally within it, and then once you've roasted, you then throw them into a stone granite grinder essentially, and 50% of the cocoa bean is cocoa butter. So just due to the natural friction and the heat caused by the grind, it eventually will just turn into a liquor, and then in the grinder is when you would add your other ingredients. So if you're making a dark chocolate, it'll just be sugar. If you're making a milk chocolate, it'll be milk powder and sugar, and then it gets transferred to the conching machine. And conching is basically a flavour development machine, essentially.
Was this something that you found out yourself online?
Yeah, as soon as I came back from my trip, I started looking online in terms of the process of actually making chocolate from scratch, and that's when you realise you find your online friends who suddenly we're all part of this quite nerdy chocolate forum, and everyone's trying to make their own kind of DIY sort of chocolate making.
And you made it in your own kitchen, didn't you?
I did, and I was living with friends of mine, and I imagine I know them quite a lot because I used to make quite a lot of noise and a lot of smells. It involved kind of small Indian wet spice grinders, it involved hair dryers, it involved just using the oven, which again I would roast cocoa in there and just stink out the whole place. And luckily, obviously, it produced chocolate, so I could kind of give my housemates chocolate at the end and be sorry for kind of taking over.
So Phil, you're bean to bar, so you are literally making your chocolate from scratch. But Anjali, you've chosen a different route, haven't you?
Yes, I have. So I buy the Belgian couverture and I convert that into bonbons and bars.
And when you say couverture, what do you actually mean? So you buy a recipe?
No, so there are two basic kinds of chocolate that you can buy in the market, compound and couverture. Couverture is considered the finest quality of chocolate, and the only fat in couverture is cocoa butter. Whereas compound chocolate is chocolate that's made with cocoa powder and any fat, sugar, milk solids. So I taste all the chocolate. So before starting my business,
oh, that sounds terrible. You have to taste it all as well.
It's a really hard industry to work in.
Oh, I can imagine.
So before starting, I tasted lots of different chocolates from different sources and decided I liked the flavor of Belgian couverture the most. And then, of course, when you make bonbons and truffles, there are so many things you can do with it because chocolate pairs so beautifully with fruit, with spices, with teas, with coffee, with all the liqueurs.
Yeah, it's a real skill. That's not my skill. I could not do that. That is something which I think takes lots of years of training. And
so then would somebody buy your chocolate if they like the taste of land chocolate? Would they come to you and...
Yeah, so I've started now looking to, well, I've just started looking to supplying couverture. So I can now supply to bakeries or to chocolatiers, and they can use it in their own truffles or bonbons. And we're having this relationship between chocolate maker and chocolatier and working together to kind of, I want to produce a chocolate which they can use in their bonbons, and it's quite nice to have that kind of link.
Anjali, you have the same super humid conditions in Singapore as Ghana. How hard is it to actually make the chocolate?
So it was very challenging when I first came to Singapore in 2012. If you remember, I said that I decided to start my business in chocolate while I was living in Istanbul, which is much cooler and much drier. So I learned my skill, practiced chocolate making for about 3 years while I was living in Istanbul. Then came to Singapore and I was all ready to go. And then I discovered that it's humid. So I used to make salted caramels and put a little bit of sea salt flake on the chocolate, and that would turn to water. And my molds were humid. So
you're making me hungry now. We are going to try some chocolate in a moment. But I wanted to ask you, Anjali, so you don't do bean to bar, and Ruth and Phil both do what's called bean to bar. Is there a way, is it even possible for you to do that where you are?
It is possible. There are bean to bar manufacturers in Singapore, and they're quite new again. You know, their businesses are younger than mine is. But I just decided that this is what I do. I don't want to do bean to bar because I think it would be quite challenging to do both bean to bar and make bonbons and truffles and chocolate bars and all the things that I do.
We've got to eat some chocolate now, surely. Come on, Phil. Can you just...
So I get something ready for you? Okay.